Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, we've got our next Dino Fury Zord release. Thanks as well to those of you that joined or have caught up on my recent live stream where I went through what this guy does and crucially, what final Ultrazord combo you can pull off when you go Primal. So starting as ever with the toy history, the Gold Ranger's Mosasaurus is the 4th Zord set from Hasbro's Power Rangers Dino Fury line. On screen it was introduced in episode 16 of season 1, an episode that aired as early as September the 10th in France, September 22nd in the UK, October 15th in the US as a sort of first look Netflix premiere, and finally officially airing on the channel where Power Rangers had resided for the past decade, Nickelodeon, on November 6, 2021. And now, in summer of 2022, we finally have the Zord toy. Bandai would never. Although I guess playing devil's advocate, now Netflix are probably going to always have the global premiere, we shouldn't get such a disparate release schedule again, I think. And if we're going way back, this thing saw its first outing in the Bandai Japan Ryu Soldier toy line in 2019 as Kishi Ryu Mosa Rex. I'm impressed how similar many names that got carried over are in this adaptation. As you probably gathered by now with Hasbro's latest Zord line, this is one flexible action figure, as well as being a fully transforming Zord. This is the stuff we were waiting for Hasbro to deliver on, and it's been a constant source of surprise and amazement when they've kept delivering on it. Onto the design. Mosasaurus is based on the Mosasaurus, which is actually a unique addition to Power Rangers Dino seasons. We've not had one like that before. The closest two I'm going to say were Dino Charge's Plesiosaur and its toy line exclusive Dino Swords. But Mosasaurus is 100% its own thing, and if you've seen Jurassic World from 2015, you would have seen one popping out of the water in a similar jump to what the Mosasaurus does in Dino Fury. Coincidence? You tell me. The Ammonite design inspired fists, which actually sit separately from the main Zord, a pet peeve of mine, also remind me of another of Dino Charge's toy line exclusive releases. Beyond what it's based on and into what it can actually do, I don't think any designers from either side of the franchise ocean will blame me for calling this the simplest Zord to Warrior mode transformation in all of Dino Fury. It's a bit disappointing after the excitement of the Terror-free Zord, and I do wish I'd got this one first, or better yet, if Hasbro could actually have released this back when it was seen on screen and at the end of 2021, along with the first 5 Dino Zord releases. And that would have actually freed up some slots for them to actually complete the auxiliary Zords of the line in 2022. But yeah, we'll get into that shortly. I should also mention something quite cool is that its signature weapon is based on a trident, and the finisher reflects that too. At first I thought it was a sword, but nice that they were able to make it underwater related like the Mosasaurus itself. On to differences from the original then, and once again a cursory side-by-side comparison. You're just not gonna see much of a difference between these two juggernauts, but with thanks again to Toku Frankie, there are a couple of helpful comparisons to be made here. As has been par for the course with Dino Fury, the Morphokeys that become Megazord helmets are substantially different. This is another one where we do have an action figure version in the cheaper, softer plastic, but with the holographic sticker on the back. It won't turn in the Megazord though, so I expect you'll just want to keep using the main one. I wonder if anyone has tried cutting and sticking the sticker onto the flexible one and maybe leaving the helmet bucket piece off. Let me know if you think that's a good or bad idea. Once again, we've got some fake studs back in the below of the belt area, as they've now done with all 3 of the Warrior mode Zords. In terms of transformation, you're looking at a fairly consistent experience with what happened with the Mosa Rex toy. It is quite a, dare I say, basic transformation, but that's okay. On balance, there's enough intrigue in the line as a whole to let us forgive this. And of course, once again, it's flexibility where you really gain with this guy. While not as impressive as the Terra Freeze, it does well with what it's got for saying this is a Zord that needs to be able to break down completely for a big combination. Something I do like about it is that though the new posable head doesn't do much turning, you can get a tiny bit more by removing the back of the helmet piece. And also I'm pretty sure this is the same as the original, but you can twist the Mosasaurus head itself in its warrior mode to get just a bit more articulation out of it. What's bad about it? Okay, so back to those hands being separate. I really thought we'd moved on from this nonsense, but nope, here we are again, and plugging separate hands onto the stud ports means you lose the wrist articulation that we got in both the T-Rex Champion and the Terra Freezers warrior modes. You can probably tell in my review so far that I'm finding this overall less impressive than the Terra Freeze Zord that released alongside this, and that was more flexible, had a more interesting colour scheme and different types of plastic being used, a more engaging warrior mode transformation, an additional transformation mode of its own, oh, and of course another when you added in the T-Rex. That's not really Hasbro's fault, obviously the series source footage is designed to save the best till last, but I do think Hasbro should have been able to space these two releases out a bit so everyone could have gotten the Mosasaurus first. I guess one reason it wasn't so vital as the Season 1 release was that there's no 6 Zord combo to be had. Normally when they introduce the 6 Ranger Zord, it actually does more with the Team Zords you've already got, but that's just not the case here, other than some customs you can make and the ill-advised T-Rex combo shown on the back of the box, which I don't even think is screen accurate. If this had come out alongside another set, say the Dimetro Blazing Zord and one or both of the Light and Shadow Raptors, we could have had a bit more fun here. As it stands, we can't do the Mosa Shadow Megazord as we don't have the Shadow Raptor Zord. We can't do the Electro Zord despite us having the lifting headpiece for it, kind of suggesting it was either planned and then shelved, or Hasbro just copied it verbatim, thinking that it was necessary for the Zord itself to have. Based on the Spinosaurus, Electro Zord is another cool giant double Zord combo that I would like to be able to put together, and it's just not possible. Not only is that not possible, but neither is another Ultrazord, the Fusion Ultrazord, which requires the Mosa Razor, T-Rex Champion, and Dimetro Blazing Zords. That's our second of 3 Ultrazords this season we can't even make because we're missing one more Zord for each. Instead, they'd rather ensure we definitely have that T-Rex Champion Zord again. Yeah, obviously the failure of Beast Morpher's Zord distribution is still haunting them, but I do wish there was more thought and care given here to actually complete the line rather than just doing some of the highlights reel. What's good about it then? And once again, we gotta give major props to Hasbro for adding such impressive articulation to this toy. Elbows and knees and thigh movement is a hard-won victory in Megazord toys, and we need to support this kind of development in a line that's only ever been known for being blocky and basic in that department. Between this and the Zap Collector's line, I think Hasbro are definitely showing us that they finally worked out what to give us that helps them stand apart from Bandai. And Bandai are even recognising this and copying them back, so that's when you know you're onto the right sort of thing. Its presence means that we can finally create an Ultrazord. Primal Ultrazord is obviously going to get the main toy line focus this year with the Amazon exclusive box set too. It's nice to put together, it looks unique, and it definitely makes the best use of the parts from all 3 Megazords, warrior modes. And while a 3-Zord Ultrazord doesn't seem remarkably ultra to me, I guess you could argue it's similar to 3 Megazords combining, which is fair enough and a bit of a tried and tested pattern for the show, going all the way back to Ninja Storm, who did it first with the Hurricane Megazord, and there was definitely some leftover stuff with that. Yeah, there's definitely still a lot of leftover stuff here, but that's fine. Most of it can actually be reassembled into a secondary Megazord, and if you want to go wild with it, you can even fit all of the auxiliary Zord pieces onto it and create a sort of 5.5 Knights warrior alternate mode. So as weird as I think it is that there is this much stuff unused from the final combo, I enjoy the challenge of finding something to do with it all. The blocky stud ports means that there's always more to do and discover with this toy line. In my live stream, people did ask if I'd found a way to combine all 7 Zords into one giant thing, and I have tried, but it's mostly been falling apart every time. I will keep trying though. Mosa Razor overall is a necessary, if underwhelming, addition to the Dino Fury Zordline that just so happens to be my conclusion for it. Trading perhaps a little more heavily off its Ranger namesake than being a substantially interesting Zord or Warrior mode, it's still a nice unique Zord for Power Rangers, and it's good to actually be able to buy it, regardless of how interesting it is, given its substantial place in the Ultrazord. Overall, as a toy line, it's nice to get this arrangement. I think Beast Morphers would have been much more complete if they just released that Lion Zord, not only for the other combination, but just for the, you know, the weighted symmetry of having 3 Megazords standing together and the main one being able to go in the middle. You can do that with this Dino Fury line, and I think despite the line being unfinished, the balance of having 3 looks much more complete than 2, so that's worked in its favour. Also, the 4 auxiliary Zords they did release can technically work with any of them. You can mimic their warrior modes or create your own interpretations. Bandai tried to do that with Zord Builder, and now here with Zord Link, which actually follows the logic of the show, means you can get really creative here. I particularly like the introduction of the Electro Zord in the show when Ion says it's his own creation. This means for those playing with these toys, you can just say one of your rangers invents their own mode, and that's powerful. Excuse the pun, but that's genuinely empowering for those people who get these toys, because they establish a link there that made up concoctions are just part of it. It's a really clever move. So yeah, definitely irony in that despite being a less complete Zord line than Beast Morphers, which was only missing 1 Zord, Dino Fury seems to pull it off better because you have the balance of 3 warrior modes. Beast Morphers, obviously, if they had that 3rd warrior mode, that would have been a complete Zord line, but also I think it would have looked much more balanced overall, and I think you really get that here because of these 3. Right, so that's it. I'd love to be wrong and doing a part 4 to this, but unlike Bandai, it's unlikely Hasbro are going to be giving us any line exclusive Zords, or the Japan movie Zord, or even the complete set of Dino Fury series Zords. So yeah, no Dino Fury victory. Unfortunately, you are stranded on Hasbro Island if you buy these Zords, as there's no intercompatibility with the Ryu Soldier stuff, but that shouldn't come as a surprise. It's the same as it's been since the Operation Overdrive and Jungle Fury years. We've not been able to mix and match with Japan's mecha for well over a decade now. I think there's enough Zords left for 2 more double packs, or the dream would be 1 with everything in, and just don't give us any of those ridiculous extra arm or drill pieces like we got in the other 2 auxiliary Zord sets. We still need Dimetro Blazing Zord and the Patchy Kangaroo Combo Zord and the Light and Shadow Raptors, which always seemed like just 1 Zord to me. So sort of 3, but technically 5 separate Zord pieces to make. Probably too ambitious for one $27.99 set, but I would buy them in 2 if it was an option. Will it happen though? You'd love to see it, and I'm sure I'd be reviewing it if we did. Until then though, that's Dino Fury, or what we've got for it through the Hasbro prism. And as ever, I hope you've enjoyed learning about it. Can I recommend it? Absolutely. The improvements to plastic feel nice, and their continued commitment to flexibility makes this line stand out from what came before from Bandai Japan. Just know that once again, despite these incremental changes, Hasbro's line is only going to get you 2/3 of the way there. Again. I'm guessing when they're finally doing their own thing for Power Rangers, they won't exceed 7 Zords every 2 years. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't, and thanks if you already have. And yeah, until the next time, see you later.